All right, thanks for joining me this week. This week I'm going to take a look at some art styles that complement the spooky season. I live up here in New England, and hey, we really like our Halloween and everything that goes along with it. I love the macabre, I love the dark, I love horror movies, and this is our season. So these art styles are meant to complement that season, and you can't just save it all for Halloween. Anyway, let's get into it. All right. Our first art style this week is Eldritch Art, and this one goes out to all those Lovecraft fans. I know you're out there, and I hear you guys asking about Lovecraftian stuff all the time. Eldritch it's a term that is often associated with Lovecraft in his writings, and it refers to something that is eerie, otherworldly, supernatural. Eldritch captures the unsettling and cosmic horror themes found in Lovecraft's writings. And all right, let's get into it. Here is a woman in the Eldritch Art style. In the style of Eldritch Art. Here's a woman, and some themes here, it's cosmic art, bizarre creatures, otherworldly landscapes. He's going to have symbols and ruins, distorted reality, dreadful atmosphere, and the subversion of normality. It's catching the atmosphere, obviously, it's misty and mystical, and, and she kind of blends into it. Also has kind of that Victorian outfit going, high collar, there is ambiguity in there because she looks very modern as far as her makeup goes, and hair is I wouldn't say timeless, but more modern. Look at that big hair, 80s. But that's a woman in Eldritch Art. Here's a man. Come on, otherworldly, mystical creature. His hands on backwards, but atmosphere, glowing eyes, supernatural. This all fits just perfectly in the Lovecraft universe. Cheeseburger. Is that otherworldly? Might be. Size of it seems otherworldly, but there is a bit of atmosphere in it, and not every one of our subjects, and that's why I test so many subjects, is going to be, we're not going to always see like a hamburger in a green misty forest. It's it blends it and it weights it against your subject, and I try to be fair, and I don't weight the prompts that I do in these tests, but yeah, I mean that's still a pretty cool and pretty atmospheric burger. That is some runny cheese, very runny, but cheeseburger. Just what you would think. And this kind of gives a comic take to it. We got our atmosphere and almost an otherworldly motorcycle. Some demon guy rides this. I just noticed this little chunk. I don't think it is a penguin, but it looks penguin-esque. Tree. Look at that. Yes, absolutely. Otherworldly, atmospheric, supernatural. And I just love the way it's rendered and twirled and the intricacy of it. It's very cool. If I were to use this for something, I would clean up it looks like it's trying to throw in some stars and moons and planets and stuff. I would take that out. And I mean, this would be fantastic for rasterizing, but absolutely cool. Octopus. The octopus is going to be good when you're using Lovecraft style stuff. Very cool, very angry. I love how we have these just kind of spiking outward and these abnormal octopus. It's angry, it's villainous, atmosphere absolutely. Green and glowy is a huge palette choice for Eldritch, and that is it's just very cool. And of course we have our atmospheric perspective that I always talk about, which is enhanced underwater and has a very cool where in the center of the octopus we have these reds and stuff, and we have a teal vignette. So the further you get away from that focus point, you're getting more and more teal, more and more dark. Very neat. So it's almost like it's desaturating and going into this, moving into a monotone image the further we get from our focus point. A house. This is very comic style. It's like comic style influenced Eldritch, and very cool. The color palette's right where I would expect it, and creepy, mystical, supernatural, that can all be supported by this image. And the forest. Can't see the trees for the forest, or can't see the forest for the trees. I don't know, whatever the saying is. Anyway, there we go. Here is the forest, moody, atmospheric, creepy, foreboding, everything we would expect. All right, try Eldritch Art in your prompts, especially if you're a Lovecraft fan. If you are a Lovecraft fan, you probably don't need me to tell you to try that. It's the people that are right on the edge. Anyway, all right, give that a shot. All right, our next style is Phantasmagoric Art, and this was based in the 18th century, and it was kind of theater special effects where magic lanterns and things were used to project imagery onto screens and onto smoke. So it's surreal imagery, distorted reality, dreamy atmosphere. You guys can see there's kind of a theme. We're in the spooky season. I'm going with stuff that lends itself to, autumn. All right, here is a woman in the, where is my clicker? In the style of Phantasmagoric, and eerie beauty is another theme to this. And, look at it. What I see is a very, it's kind of an abstract representation, because this hair and atmosphere kind of blend together into these, even though it's a hard edge rendering, it still has a feel of a smoky atmosphere, which is exactly what Phantasmagoric would go for. Here's a man. These remind me of the old Apple ads, the iPod ads of the early 2000s. I think they had like Coldplay playing in it and people dancing in their silhouetted look. But again, we're getting the feeling of these smoky, surreal backgrounds, and MidJourney is really taking it to the flatter graphic style of it. Cheeseburger, again, it's distorted reality, and look at it, the background is literally distorted reality. We don't know, it's distorted. There is distortion. So very cool. You never know where you could use this, what clients you could use this. You do a zoom out in MidJourney and you'll probably get, a fantastic little vector that you can use, and, adds to the diversity of what you're presenting in styles, especially when you start doing kickoffs with clients. Here we go. Look at that. This one's interesting. The motorcycle. Usually the motorcycle isn't that interesting, but what I like is that, we have the ground underneath the tire here that's blending into the chassis of the motorcycle, and then the fender of the bike is kind of blending into the atmosphere. So there's our distorted reality in what it's capturing. And I know that MidJourney doesn't understand the concept of distorted reality. It's learning this from imagery that's created with, phantasmagoric tags, but it's kind of learning that as a byproduct. So very interesting how it's interpreting it. A tree. Talk about dreamlike. That's exactly dreamlike. I love the color palette in this. Muted tones, soft. I like the variation in the weights too on the tree. That makes it very dreamlike. Typically you go from thick to thin as far as your tapering and stuff, but this goes thin to thick, back to thin. So it's very interesting in how it's distorting the reality by using basically line weights and subject weight. It gives you an uneasy feeling, like you shouldn't have a blob in the center. Like it shouldn't taper up to a blob and then down and then up again. That makes us feel uncomfortable. But it's very interesting, and I love the blend from the tree to the landscape. And that landscape has very much a water-like liquid feel to it. Surreal, absolutely surreal. And the octopus, here we go. It's distorted reality. It's well, first let's talk about the color palette. Color palette, we're with our orange and teal is very pleasant. I like that. Everyone likes that. That's why it's used so much in, of course, blockbuster movies and artwork and everything on YouTube. I mean, you go back 5 years and everyone was overdoing the orange to teal color timing of their YouTube videos. But here we go, and I would say this kind of sits in the surreal imagery, if that was what classification we were going to use for phantasmagoric on this image. I know this is a render error that we just have this floating circular tentacle, but it definitely gives to that feel. Again, zoom out on this a little bit, and you've got a cool little sticker graphic or something, and it's well rendered. Very cool, and it kind of is cute. The expression of this is curiosity, and this is like the curious little octopus house. Look at this. So this one's really interesting. We have nice crisp lines with the house and the architecture, but the background atmosphere is almost vignetting it. It's not it's resisting, like when it gets close to the edge. And then the tree kind of smokes off into the atmosphere, but there's more respect given to our subject. The other thing that I find fascinating about this is look down at the reflection. We can see the windows reflected, but they're warped in this soft, very, very complementary to the surface of the water down here. And they're clear and hard-edged, but warpy and distorted reality. But I found that fascinating because I've always found the reflections in MidJourney to be very symmetrical in it, and this is kind of twisting and twirling that, and something I haven't noticed. I don't think it's something they just added. I'm just fascinated by finding that little tidbit in there. I'm definitely going to be using this in my prompts. And then the forest. This one's pretty straightforward. It's flat. It's a graphic art representation of a forest, and represented with cellular flat rendering to represent the light and everything. But then it's also hinted at with atmospheric perspective and realistic one-point perspective, and it's pleasant. I think if I was doing a forest in this style, you would definitely need a more robust prompt to go along with it. And I keep mine very simple. All right, that's Phantasmagoric Art. All right, you guys are going to love this next one. I love it. Great for around Halloween and everything. And, it's a take on, a really nice look. And it's Nouveau Macabre. This is an artistic style that can be seen as a contemporary extension of a broader macabre and dark arts traditions. It takes inspiration from various movements such as Art Nouveau, symbolism, surrealism, while influencing them with a dark macabre sensibility. The style is characterized with lots of things like elegance and ornamentation, macabre, gothic themes, serene, dreamlike elements, which we're seeing a lot today, dark beauty, exploration of the uncanny, contemporary interpretations. Here is a woman, and, right off the bat, we see how the ornamentation of the background but the color palette of, more of a gothic-y feel with our oranges or a little bit of blues, which kind of hints at the moonlight and stuff, and then black, of course, is a strong color to use. And God, look at those sultry eyes. She's just, man, it's a lot holding up those eyelashes. Those look like big eyelashes. But that's very cool. Not sure where to use it, but I feel like there's a million places you could. I just can't put my finger on it right now. And look at this. This is a man in the same style, and that is just so cool. It gives me these skulls in the background, the dramatic straight down lighting, giving them the raccoon shadows underneath the eye, almost a guy liner look but it's really done with the shadowing and the skulls and the intricacy of the background. It's almost like there's this foliage skull wallpaper in the back that's just kind of reaching out and gripping him. I know that's not what it is, but if I had to create a narrative around this image, that's where I'd go. And, it matches with his tousled hair. Very cool. And you got that Victorian Gothic attire. Very neat. Really did a good job with him. Here we go with the burger. A simple palette, simple color palette, but really trying to lean into the ornamentation and the elegance of this setting. Pillars and in-depth detail and flowering, that all goes along with it. And the color palette, night, we get the vibe of a night and a moon rather than daytime. Motorcycle. Now, this one's interesting. It didn't go under. Oh, what's wrong with the front tire there? I think that would be flat. I think that would be a flat tire. But very interesting. We're looking, the detailing, very ornate. I love that MidJourney is really starting to be able to, and that's why I use motorcycles, is that it's starting to give us realistic, not starting, it's been able to do it for a little while, but it's getting more and more realistic, the texturing of these mechanical objects, where, this could, in sense, be a look. It used to be early on where you would just put complexity in there for complexity's sake, and it wouldn't make rhyme or reason to it. This is starting to kind of figure that out. We can see like our brake here and throttle. It makes sense the way it's laid out, and I like that. The motorcycle is laid out properly. Fatter tire on the back, thinner on front. It's interesting how it's learning the aesthetics of these different objects. Oh, look at that. There you go. It's a tree. We've got our dreamlike, macabre, gothic element of a skull in the middle of it. It doesn't really make sense, but it's also, these curves and everything also kind of give me the feel of like Celtic. I live in Boston. Celtic curves that would be used in bordering and ornamentation, but it's being used as the roots of the trees. It's very interesting. This could be, the top of some dark, forbidding caffeine product, coffee product, Death Wish coffee. I don't know. And this can be on top of it. Very cool. But as you can see, it's dark beauty and ornate. Boom. There's our octopus. Perfectly symmetrical, which is cool. And, it's adding that skull-like horned demon head to the octopus. And, we're getting that line of variation, the weight variation in the lines and in the structure of this, which is a little uneasy. We also have a strong contour lining, not strong, but we have a visible contour lining that's giving us the feel of a not cartoon, comic style. Very cool. I like also the use of this yellowish brown as opposed to the background, which is a little bit bluer, but it's also intertwined, so it's not an atmospheric perspective, it's just a complementary element. I like it. I like it a lot. And the house, man, there's our, everything there is the ornamentation, it's not accurate, like this should be, being that it's architecture, this should be symmetrical, and it's wavy on and off, but I guess that gives to the dreamlike aspect of it. When you get architectural, you want more symmetrical and balance, and the outer shapes are symmetrical, but the inner ornateness and details are not symmetrical, and I guess that gives us the feel of the dreamlike essence, and it's almost impossible to build this, but boy, would it be cool. I guess there are some design things. I love this setting sun, and these curves in here are just beautiful. I really like that. It's a very cool way to symbolize clouds on a setting sun, and I really like the color palette in this area too. In this setting area and atmospheric perspective. There we go. As we get closer to the sun, we're getting less contrasty, and then as far you get further back, you get higher contrast. Very cool. I like it. I like the look. I like the look of it. I would probably be running this with a more complicated prompt, but this would be a great basis, a great starting off point. And look at that. There's our forest. We have, trees that are just reaching upward. They're all kind of going upward, which is an interesting patterning. And then you have these skull-like, no, those are skulls all across the landscape underneath this canopy of trees that are reaching and foreboding, and they just look painful and spiky, and it's dark beauty, and it's, I guess, a gothic theme. It doesn't look comfortable here. It looks very uncomfortable. That's what I'm taking away from it. It's obviously danger with the skulls, and you got this guy walking. I mean, at first, I thought this was a stream or a river, but it looks like it could be more of a pathway through this dark, forbidding woods. And I guess back in the day, a couple hundred years ago, it was a lot more risky to go through the woods, and people were scared of it. And this is how it would be represented. Very cool. There's our forest. And that is the Nouveau Macabre. I like it. All right. Our next style is Decadent Art. And this emerged in the 19th century in Europe. And, you can tell from the name where this is going. It is art that was created for art's sake. The artist believed that art should be created for the sake of the experience of looking at art. It wasn't grander than that. Obviously, decadent art is going to explore elegance and luxury. Sensuality and eroticism are going to be themes through it. I don't know if MidJourney is going to pick up on that. It also got into exoticism and Orientalism because that was exotic and decadent to the Europeans. There are some touches of decay and decadence where it's kind of exploring the transitions between generational elements, and that would be the decay. But it's really about young, beautiful. It's really an art form that we can relate to with the current Instagram. I don't want to say generation, but Instagram era we're going through. I don't think it's related to any generation in particular. But let's take a look at it. This is exactly what we would think we would see. There's a woman in the style of decadent art. She looks decadent, and there's that luxury, and it's very much nonchalant, and we're just everything is heavy, and it's people are just put out by having to exist in a way, and it's very bizarre, the psyche to get into. And here's a man, and obviously we're combining a couple of different eras here, because he looks like he's dressed for the 19th century Europe, but he's got some cool shades there, shady rays. But very cool, very this is what I would think a very wealthy club kid would want to be portrayed like. A burger, geez, look at the decadence there. This is interesting because it's getting very close to photorealistic within a lot of these elements, with burger and I hate this repetitive detail I'm seeing in here. It gives just a very computer graphics look to it, but hopefully that'll be fixed in version 6. But here we go, just a decadent, over the top burger that's presented silverware and tablecloths and table linens and just there you go, decadence. Decadent motorcycle. So this is like where you start to wonder, like, is the word decadent just being is it decadent art, or is the word decadent being applied to the subject and just making it a decadent subject? It's interesting. I would say we're still in the realm of decadent art from the color palette and those light blues in there. But we got a lot of gold and diamonds and just craziness going on. But very cool rendering, very cool to see how MidJourney handles, realistic metals and their texture. Not as simple as you would think. A tree. Now this one is, thinking about it, it's art for art's sake. It's very detailed. I think I've seen this rendering style before. I don't think decadent art is doing a lot with this, besides possibly the color palette. Besides that, I don't think that is having a huge effect, as I have seen trees rendered like this MidJourney that have nothing to do with decadent art. Maybe the color palette, the gold on blue, that's giving us kind of that decadent feel, but they're not all winners. It's like a 3-dimensional sculpture of an octopus. Decadent, where would this be used? I could see something like this. Maybe it's like one of those things that holds napkins on your, when you go to a very nice restaurant or something, napkin ring, I guess it's called, napkin ring. I could see something, that type of design being used for it. And, it's just very ornate, very detailed and intricate, which I guess gives the decadent feel. And we see the same, blue, the baby blue color palette in there. Now we're hitting an orange. We're not going with the gold, but interesting. It's definitely having an effect. Again, I'm kind of on the fence how much the decadent art is decadent art versus decadent, the adjective. This is cool. Elegance, luxury, we see that being reflected in this. It did not render a small storybook style house. It was something ornate, very detailed, very intricate and large. It's over the top, that's a big house and it looks like a single dwelling. I see one front entrance. It's large. It's living large. It's decadent. Cool rendering though. I really like that we can go back to my previous videos where we talked about ink washes, and this is lovely the way it's the ink wash on this one, because it's very much contained within the rendering side and the more the pencil and ink work of it. And here's a forest. Decadent. We're seeing that gold and the baby blue, very detailed, very intricate. And the interesting thing is, so there's a boy, and looks like, I would say it's some type of pet. Maybe it started out as a dog, but it's interesting that there's a narrative in there. But I like the really warm lighting done on this, on a nighttime scene. And I like that it gave us this like little asymmetrical pond or puddle. I guess it's a puddle. It's not a pond. But yeah, there we go. That's a beautiful, there's a lot of really good rendering in there. I like this. And remember, MidJourney's only going to get better, right? And there is some cool stuff going on in there. I love it. I get lost in it. All right. There we go. That is Decadent Art. Hey, thanks for watching this video this week. I hope you had a great time. If you could do me a favor and like that video, it would be fantastic. Comment below. Tell me what I did right, what I did wrong, what I should try. Let me know. Let's have a conversation. If you want to get even deeper, go over to Discord. We have a great community over there. Stuff is always being shared. They're great artists. I love what's going on over there. And then subscribe to my channel. That would be awesome. Subscribers make the world go round. All right. Till next time.